All right, welcome to the highlight show of this ECU versus Marshall matchup. What you're about to see now is an interception by our third cornerback, who's really an All-American, Jared Herron. There's the interception. First interception of the day for the Pirates. And then what you're about to see next is the first touchdown of the day. Damon Walton, our starting quarterback, to our fourth receiver, David Rutledge. He runs a very nice up and out pattern. It's a corner end zone for a touchdown that gave ECU a 7-0 lead. And then later on, in the second quarter, ECU would get on the board yet again. Our starting quarterback actually got knocked out of the game for a few plays, so Aaron Collier came in to take over for a couple of plays, and then Jerry Marshall, he would have a very nice 18-yard run out of the shotgun formation. And then one play later, Jerry Marshall would wind up finishing off the drive with a 2-yard touchdown run. As you'll see here, gets into the end zone untouched. And then it was almost time for Marshall to turn the football over again, but before that, the Marshall quarterback Travis Taylor, he would be sacked by Mark Pittman, the All-American middle linebacker for ECU, a huge hit, knocking him backwards for about a 3 or 4 yard loss. Well, at least it felt like that to me anyway. But then the play of the game, Brian Collins. Watch the pressure come up the middle from the defensive tackle, Babatunde Hope. Ball gets tipped in the air, and Brian Collins catches it out of the air, and he is off to the races. "60-yard pick six for Brian Collins, who, oh, by the way, was named Defensive Player of the Game. That play was so awesome, we got to see it again, this time from the wire view. There's Hope providing the pressure. Quarterback throws. Ball gets partially tipped and right into the hands of Brian Collins. And then after that, Brian Collins wreaking havoc yet again. This time sacking the quarterback. Look at the hustle from ECU's number 4. Quarterback gets away initially, but then he is slowed down by a couple of defensive linemen before Brian Collins ends up finishing off from behind with a sack. And then more pressure from Brian Collins. On this play, forced the quarterback to roll to his right, ill-advised throw from across his body, and Eric Alvarez with the interception. They rarely throw to Alvarez's side after his great freshman season. But Alvarez gets the pick there, and then 4 plays later, that will lead to a 1-yard touchdown run here by Brian Samuel. And then, for good measure, right at the end of the first half, Josh Leak would get an interception on a Hail Mary attempt by the Thundering Herd. So the halftime score was ECU 28, Marshall nothing. Third quarter, Marshall, they were going on a decent drive, but then Jared Herron strikes again with yet another interception. Right near the sideline, they were going for their big tight end, but could not get it to him. Herron high pointed that ball and then kept his feet in bounds. So that would lead to a score by ECU. Let's take a look at this 18-yard run by Bruce the Deuce Olsen. The running game was very good in this game for ECU this afternoon. And then a 7-yard run by Deuce for the touchdown. That will be the only score of the third quarter. $35-0 ECU. And Michael Alexander, it was his turn to get an interception for ECU. So the top three corners, Alexander, Heron, and Alvarez, all had interceptions in this contest. And then Derek Clemens, the redshirt freshman running back, he would get in the ball game. Let's take a look at this Jerry Marshall run this time, right up the middle. At this point, Marshall had pretty much given up. Here's a Derek Clemens run for 25 yards, for a 25-yard carry. The power back showing some good speed there. And then Jerry Marshall would score a touchdown, goes in untouched from 14 yards out. Rarely do you see that. And then one last touchdown for good measure by Derek Clemens to round out the scoring 49-0. So now what you're going to see next, we're going to go through the player stats now. Nope, not player stats just yet. We're going to do the team stats first. 379 total yards of offense, 243 on the ground for ECU, 6 for 6 in the red zone. They did not allow Marshall to even get into the red zone all game long. 6 turnovers for Marshall, all 6 of them interceptions thrown by their quarterback, Travis Taylor. Damon Walton, was 12 of 15 from throwing. Collier 3 for 3. The running game was very productive for ECU. Olsen was 66 yards, Marshall 87, Clemens 66, and Samuel with 26. All 4 running backs scored touchdowns today. Marshall with 2, Olsen, Clemens, and Samuel with 1 apiece. We spread the ball around pretty good. The Harrington and Bernard and Olsen and Rutledge, Lawrence, Gross, White, and Parker, they all caught at least 1 pass in this ball game. There you see the pancake blocks by Parker, Foreign, and Hodges. On the Marshall side of things, their quarterback did not have a very good game. Their offense didn't have a very good game, period. A couple of drop passes. Couldn't really get too much going in the run game. McIntosh did have a decent day for them. 6 catches for 51 yards. They only averaged 8.5 yards per catch. Defensively, there's going to be some sore players, especially Ramsor, Alvarez, and Cox. They had the bulk of the tackles for the Thundering Herd. As we go through the rest of Marshall stats there, now East Carolina, Mark Pittman and Brian Collins holding down a linebacker for as usual. Collins, player of the game, 4 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, interception, and a forced fumble. And by the way, that interception resulted in a pick 6 for Brian Collins and the Pirates. Yeah, Mark Pittman, 7 solo tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and a sack. He was everywhere in this game, as well as Brian Collins. Just rolling you through some of these player stats here on the East Carolina defense. 5 tackles for loss total for the team, 2 sacks total. As I mentioned, 6 interceptions for the defense. Alvarez, Alexander, Leak, and Collins all had 1 apiece. Heron had 2 apiece. And the 1 pass deflection by Michael Alexander really should have been a pick, actually. But he redeemed himself the very next play by getting the interception. Nothing much to do for the kicker. Except kick 7 extra points. And our punter, Matt White, 55-yard punt. Not a bad day at the office at all for the ECU Pirates, who came into this game ranked number 1 in the country, 2-0 in a young season. And just in case you're wondering, we are members of the ACC. Season 2024. Just finishing up week 4 of the 2024 season. There you see the scoring summary. We already showed you all the touchdowns. That is how it looked in scoring summary form. All right, so what's next for the Pirates? Well, up next for the Pirates, it's a bye week. Bye week in week 5 for ECU. All right, so I can tell you right now, ECU still number 1 in both polls. Although Tennessee starting to close the gap at number 2. They did beat Florida by a score of 34-24. That was a 10-point win over a ranked Florida school. There's games around the country that you just saw flash by on your screen. There's also the game stats. We were very runner-oriented today, and Marshall did not like that. Didn't like it at all. Jerry Marshall was the offensive player of the game for East Carolina. He was the player of the game and the player of the game overall. Brian Collins, 4 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a sack, a forced fumble, and an interception. Brian Collins had himself a full day. UCLA blew away Stanford 40-10. Stanford was ranked 14th. And there you see it again. Marshall and Collins, your players of the game for East Carolina as they blanked their rivals, Marshall 49-0 in their home stadium. Alright, folks, so that's going to be the end of this video. We'll see you next time with more of the East Carolina Dynasty in the 2024 season. Pierre Moore signing off now. Thank you guys so very much for listening. We'll see you next time around.